Hello, all viewers. Welcome to the 69th Khelo Chess India Leeches team battle. And we have a surprise for you today. We are going to start with some new activity, something new that you are going to enjoy a lot, my friends. So stay tuned for today's surprise. So tournament is about to start in a minute, and I am little bit lagging on my clicks. Okay, so that's the tournament. It's going to start in 1 minute and 21 seconds, and we have today few new teams actually. So all the Khelo Chess India team members, please join quickly. We don't have enough time to. So we have a request from Abhishek Srivastav to analyze his game. Okay, we are going to do that, Abhishek, for you. Just 30 seconds, 15 seconds remaining now to start the tournament, and I would just like to share the details with you all. So we have a request from Abhishek Srivastav to analyze his game. Okay, we are going to do that, Abhishek, for you. Just 30 seconds, 15 seconds remaining now to start the tournament, and I would just like to share. So the first game is between Abhi Ganigar and Andre. Andre is from the Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy, and Abhi Ganigar is from Karnataka Stunners. So it's a nice D4 game which is going on. Just give me a minute, guys. I have to share the message in the today's Lichess team battle. So just a minute. Okay, so this is nice game going on right now. A D4, D5, a London system game, which White is trying to set up with the d4 and c3 and e3 pawn push. So it's interesting to see how black is going to respond. So d5 and pawn c5 are one of the important moves in this battle against the London system. So d4 and d5 and c5 has to be played to make sure that at least you challenge something in the center. And once this bishop goes back, I think b5 b4 can be played to create a weakness on c3 square, and then you can attack the queen side. But here black is trying to go on the center. So the white resigned here. Let's quickly check what happened in the game, guys. I'm sorry, I just was distracted for a moment. So e5 was played here, and after e5, knight takes, pawn takes, and bishop takes, and queen h5 was a blunder. So knight takes h5. So it's a very simple and easy game actually. Uh, nothing much to discuss there. Let's go back, and I am just trying to paste this link for all the viewers out there, all the players out there, that the tournament is live on our channel Khelo Chess India. Okay, so all the players who want to get their games analyzed, just let me know. We will be happy to analyze them. And today we are going to meet one of the young talents, young chess player who is from Mumbai, and he is going to call us in some time. Even you can call us, guys, and we would be happy to know your experiences, to know your how you started chess, how you started playing chess, who was your coach actually, and how you started learning the game actually. Is it your parents who influenced you, who motivated you to learn a lot? So I'll just give you my ID, Skype ID, on which you can call, and then probably we can have a discussion. But the calls have to be limited as to 5 minutes or not more than that, because we will be entertaining more people as much as possible. I'll be sharing my ID. This game is again going on in between Manish Kapoor and Chubizard. Manish Kapoor is from Prayagraj Future GMs, a very good rating of 2027, and Chubizard is again 2047, beat Mendano Chess Prodigy, which is a Philippines team. Okay, so e4 d5 was Scandinavian defense. E takes d5, queen takes d5, knight to c3, queen to a5, knight to f3, knight to f6, pawn to d3, pawn to c6, bishop to d2, and bishop to f5, pawn to g3, pawn to e6, bishop to g2, and then queen to c7, castles and knight d7, rook to e1, and bishop to d6. So that's actually the way to play in this Scandinavian. But this bishop on d6 and queen on c7, actually they are not helping the cause right now. Probably this bishop could have been better on b4, provoking a3, or at least trying to play this nd5 or other moves which might help them. But because this bishop, unless black plays h5, h4 and tries to get this pawns exchange, this bishop is not going to be of much use here. So h5, h4 is something that I think black has to play, and but h5 might be replied with h4, and then probably black will go for the queenside castle, which then white will reply with a3, b4, and b5 attack on the queen side. So you have to be precise in this opposite color castlings, wherein you cannot just wait and watch until your opponent just reaches to your king side and tries to attack, open up your king side. Whoever attacks first, whoever destroys the castle first, is going to get the winning chances. So make sure that if black castles here, you should be the first one to launch the attack by a3, b4, b5. And if black wants to attack here, h4, h5 is the way to get this files exchange, h file exchange, and then try to get the bishop on this g6. And pawn probably can come to e5 later in the game if required. So a3 was played here, and then castles, knight to e2, pawn to h6, knight to d4, bishop went back to g6. Here black is going for the safer option of short castle. Long castles was another option that you get in the Scandinavian defense, but that's the current position. Knight to d5, bishop to d2, knight to f6, and pawn to c4, knight to b6, and then we have bishop to c3, rook to d8, and pawn to b4. After pawn to b4, we have knight to c8. Knight c8 is actually an interesting move because we don't know what is going to be that knight's plan out there. Will it go to e7 and try to come to f5, or what is the plan? Is it this is the plan to play b6 and c5 then? So it would be interesting to watch this. And then we have knight to e2, bishop to e7, knight to f4. The bishop is attacked on g6, so bishop tries to find a better square there. It goes back to h7, pawn to d4, knight to b6, and queen to b3, supporting the c4 pawn here. Knight to e4, bishop to b2, knight to f6, rook to d1, and then we have rook to e8, pawn to a4. Now again, this white is trying to push all the pawns on the queen side, trying to get the space advantage here. So more you push the pawns, I think the more territory you cover here, and it's all giving you a lot of space. Look at the space that white has here. He has all these diagonals A, B, C, D, all diagonals are open for him. He has the option which diagonal he wants to open depending upon the situation. So this might turn out to be in favor of white here because he has more options, more space, and this pawn push d5 is again, I think it's a critical one because it might help white to create some weaknesses in black's camp. So pawn to c5. Look at this push again. White had this option of pushing the pawn, so that's the advantage of having the space advantage. So knight to f5, and when we have pawn to d6, queen to d7, and now pawn to b4. Again, now here, this is where I think white will be able to. This passer is already there on d6, but it has to be supported by some other pawn. So if these pawns get exchanged, then I think there must be some chance for white to push these pawns. Even the c pawn can be pushed and d pawn can be pushed. Hence, I think white is going for this exchange. Pawn takes, and rook to c8. Pawn to c6, a daring push with the help of this bishop. Look at this bishop here, guys. It's supporting the c6, but I think now d6 is something that white must be concerned about. Pawn takes, and rook takes. A sacrifice here. Bishop takes, queen takes, and now this is a live position. So we have a weakened castle here of white versus white's pawn on d6 that black can. So black has to make sure that this bishop comes somewhere on this diagonal. Probably come to e4 and go to b7, and from there it will try to get some mating attacks. Now rook c7 is going to be very fast. And queen d6, this pawn is gone. This white is not, I think white is missing the trick here. He is now a pawn down. From the position up to pawn down is not the good way to play. Knight to d3, the queen is at, oh, rook takes c4, a free queen, probably a slip of mouse or a slip of, or probably the time pressure which led to this kind of position. So if you just keep few moves back, knight to d4, and it's difficult for black now. Probably queen d2 was something that he should have played here. Queen d2, and this knight is attacked. So it might have been interesting to see, because if queen d2, for example, queen e6 to support this knight, then we have more like knight takes g6 possible, because if h takes g6, then we have queen takes d3 with the help of this bishop, then queen takes queen, bishop takes queen will leave white black two pawns up. And right now, guys, I'm getting a call from Mayank, so let's try to get him in the live broadcast. Hello, Mayank, are you able to hear me?
Yes, hello sir. How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm good. How are you? Hope you are doing well.
Yes, I'm great.
That's okay. That's nice. I hope all the viewers out there are able to hear Mayank as well. Mayank is from Mumbai, and he has been learning chess from last quite few years, right, Mayank? How many years it
Yes,
has been that you are learning chess now?
last 2 to 3 years.
Okay, that's very nice to hear. And how did you start playing, or what was your motivation, Mayank, when you started playing? Or first, let us discuss about you. What are you doing right now? I mean, from your career point of view, in what stage you are right now?
Okay, sir. I have just given my SSC exams,
Okay.
state board 10th standard,
Mm-hmm.
and I have now started the preparation for JEE exams,
Mm-hmm.
11th and 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, I am playing chess as it's a vacation for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm full fledged playing chess, and I'm also playing Khelo Chess India tournaments daily. I
Mm-hmm.
love to play these tournaments.
That's good to know, Mayank. So first of all, congrats for completing the 10th standard, the first milestone in everyone's career. And then you are a very good chess player. I know that. So it's actually a double congratulations to you that right now you got some time to play chess as well as you completed your 10. So it's very nice going for you. So good to have you on call today, and we would like to hear more from your experiences and whatever doubts you have, whatever things that you want to plan for chess or your upcoming challenges, because 11, 12 is going to be very much challenging for you, and uh, playing chess in those difficult and pressure situations, making sure that your game doesn't go down, you have to keep practicing. And so, have you prepared any plan for yourself that how you will keep playing chess and not to lose your contact or not to lose your chest touch in 11th, 12th, and the upcoming years?
Yes, I have planned a bit about it.
Mm-hmm,
I will be playing chess daily online as I get time.
mm-hmm,
Probably I will be playing this team event also daily because this time is free for me.
mm-hmm.
And I will be coming for the club if this corona and this if coronavirus and this gets calmed down, then I will be playing in the club.
Right,
And that's
right,
all for us.
right. So the club, you mean our the Chess for All club, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
practice.
right. So
Yes,
Mayank,
practice.
yeah. So for all the viewers out there who are not aware, I do run the chess classes in Mumbai, that is Ambernath, one of the towns, small towns in Ambernath. So I we have a every weekly we have a practice session there wherein you can come and practice. So that's what Mayank is referring here. Okay, so Mayank, so what do you think about this game which is going on between the Narendra Mudliar and Manish Kapoor, which is on the board right now? Manish Kapoor is from Prayagraj, future GM's chess club. We have Narendra Mudliar, one of our very good acquaintances, and he's playing from the Chess Blasters. So, what do you think of this position right now? Is black winning completely? Mayank, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, but I am unable to see the board.
Oh, okay. So let me just share my screen for you. I missed that one. Okay. Okay, probably you can share my screen now, and we would like to see your analytical skills now. What do you think of this position? I think black is going for a draw here. Yeah, he has done a
Yes, sir, it's a
perpetual.
open.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
perpetual checks and draws. So the position which I asked you was this one, wherein we still didn't have this checks available. This was the position actually. So herein, black just played pawn takes g3, trying to expose white's king here. And it's actually a nice way to handle this attack on the king side. Look at this h5, h4 moves. And of course, black's center is punctured right now by this e takes d6, and this e takes d takes e7 will be possible. We might have some rook e1, queen e2 checks to the king, but black is taking his chances right now, and he just is going for full-fledged attack on the king side. So knight takes h3 was played, rook takes h3 sacrifice was done here, again exchange sacrifice, and pawn takes h3, queen takes h3, and this after f takes g3, this was the position. Actually, here I thought that after king h1, it would be the best move. What would be the best move here? I am just trying to test your skills, Mayank here. What do you think is the best move for black?
So king d7 must be the best as rook is getting the scope to come on h8
H8,
and attack the king.
exactly, exactly. That's correct. So instead of king d7, because king d7, it's okay, it's fine, we can play it. But I was thinking about going for the castles. Just idea is same that rook should come in the h8 square and try to deliver a checkmate on this h5. That is the idea, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's nice. So probably castle should have been thought of here, but black went for this draw. So instead of drawing, actually there was some winning chances, of course, and there was just one check after castles. If d7, if castle is a d7 check, and probably knight takes d7 should handle that, and there's nothing else that white can do thereafter. Probably there is a move like queen g2, but that's not going to help white. There is a rook h8 check and mate. So, pretty straightforward and simple game here. Black could have won. Let's go back to the tournament and try to pick up the next game. So, okay. So, Mang, what do you recollect any funny experiences or anything that you would like to share with us on chess?
So at this point, I am unable to recollect any funny experience, but I play chess just for fun and to learn something new.
Hmm.
So, so that
Okay.
so I'm unable to reconnect.
Okay. So meanwhile, we are looking at the game. You can try to recollect any funny experience that you have. You are still on the call with us, and all the viewers out there, just who don't know what is happening, we have Mayank Hinge, one of our chess players, young chess players from Mumbai, with us on the call right now for the live broadcast on Khelo Chess India Team Battle. Even you can join our live broadcast by messaging us on the Skype. We will try to accept your calls and try to let you join this live broadcast. So this is another game that we are looking at, Mayank. So d4, d5, knight f3, knight f3, and then d5. So this is a position wherein I think it's not clear that which opening is white going to play or which opening is black going to play here. So it's always difficult to guess that which what is going to be the plan from either sides. What do you think of this position, a symmetrical position, Mayank?
Yes, sir. So this can be converted to Catalan also by playing g3 and c4,
Mm-hmm.
or Queen's Gambit also can happen here by c4, e6, and bishop g5.
Right, right. And I know that this knight f3 move is a very it's a very safe move actually. The point is here that all the viewers out there and who want to play d4 from white side is that knight f3 puts brakes on all the gambits out there, okay, which are possible after d4 knight f6. For example, we have d4, knight f6, and knight f3, knight f6, knight f3. If knight f3 is not played, we have the e5 move here, which is the Budapest, I think Budapest, right? So which is the Budapest gambit. So d4, even in case of d5, knight f3, if sorry, so d4, d5, c4, this is a queen's gambit. We have e5 available there, which is called as the Alvin counter gambit. Okay, so if you're playing from white side, if you want to play safe, if you don't want to take any kind of risks and you want to play a safe and sound opening, this knight f3 is one of the safest options that you have. After you can play the d4 move. Of course, there are a lot of theory as well, but here you can just stick to a small plan of just getting this g3, bishop g2, castles, a small fianchetto here, and then you can try to advance your pawns on the queen side and try to get some good position, good tactics on this diagonal out there. So that is one of the things I think knight f3 helps you to avoid all the gambits, and then probably you can just play g3 as I explained, and you can go for a good middle game. So I hope Mayank you're following, or you if you have any ideas you can add to this.
So yes, I have heard about that knight f3 is played to stop the gambits all over
Mm-hmm.
the board
Mm-hmm.
and playing d4. Yes,
Okay.
that's the plan. Yes.
Right. That's what actually White has done here. He has gone for the fianchetto variation and he has played c4 here. So bishop to d6, knight to c3, castles, rook to e1. Sometimes I do like this bishop g5 move, just asking a question about this knight, and of course knight d7 is available there. H6 is something that white likes sometimes to provoke some weaknesses on the black's king side. But bishop g5, I like playing bishop g5 in these positions. Rook e1 is also an okay move. I think he's preparing for e4 sometime in the game, but I'm not sure if it's going to be right now or after some preparation. Probably, I think still it's this bishop g6. It's just cutting away this everything, all the critical squares on the white's queen side. You're not able to play queen d3, queen c2. Queen b3 is one of the expected moves to attack the b7, but then we have queen b6, which can be replied by pawn to c5, queen takes b3, a takes b3, and then bishop can go to b6 and try to play pawn to b6 and get some exchanges here. So that is one of the plans here from white side. That's what I can think of. So bishop to g5, yeah, that's what is played. Then we have knight d7, pawn to c5, bishop to c7, queen to b3, rook to b8, and knight to d2, pawn to h6. Yeah, h6. I think it's not bad for white. That is one of the weaknesses actually, which white can target later in the game. But right now, looking at a position, it's unclear what White is trying to do here because he has put his rook on d1 and e1 square. So he is probably planning to open up the center as quickly as possible. But looking at Black's position, opening up the center, because all the critical squares have been controlled already. This e4 square has been controlled multiple times. This pawn chain is very nicely protected. There is no weakness in the pawn chain. This a7 pawn is hanging, but it's not attacked. It's something that Black can ignore. Center, I think White's plan is. I will still need to check what happened in the game, but this plan I think may not be the best one for White right now. And after, of course, actually, Black has played this e5 move. He should have avoided the e5 move. I feel that because that's what black wants, white wants, right? White just wants to open up the center as quickly as possible. And by playing e5 move, actually you are helping white to open up the center. If d takes e5, then e4 is possible in the game. So white would be happy to just open up everything which as early as possible. So black played e5 here, knight f3 was played, and pawn to e4. That's the right move for black, just locking up the center, and these two rooks now become ineffective because there is nothing that these two rooks can do in the closed files. Okay, so knight f3, knight to d2, pawn to e3. Okay, e3. I'm not in favor of e3 right now. So knight f3, probably knight to d7 and pawn f5 might have helped. What plan would you do here, Mayank, if you are playing from black side? What plan would you like to have here?
So white if plays knight d2, then moves like knight h5 also can be
Mm-hmm.
better there.
Yeah, knight h5, f5, f4 can be
Yes,
played
yes,
there.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, but it's still, let's see what how the game progressed. So knight d2 was played, pawn to e3, and trying to just create some chances here. But I think white should be okay after this. Pawn takes and rook e8 and pawn to e4. E4 is something that white is dreaming of from last many moves. Finally, he got to play e4, but it was not the e2 pawn, it was the f2 pawn which came here, and then the e4 was played. But let's see what happened. So d takes and now e3. Okay, rook c1. So these rooks are actually just passive rooks. They are in the closed files, not helping white much. And white probably is just hoping for a blunder from black side to exploit. Queen d7. Now this pawn has been attacked thrice with the knights and the queen, and we have this knight defending, the rook defending. So two defenses right now and three attackers. This pawn is in bit of question right now. And queen g4 is another support to this pawn, but I think it would be driven away quickly. The queen, yeah, rook should be now doubled, so rook f2 and rook f1 can be played. So knight to h7 and rook to f8, f1, and then we have knight to g5. So this again knight maneuver. Look at this maneuver, right? So knight h7 and knight g5. So controlling all the critical squares are h3, and then also controlling the f3 square. So can this knight help black in delivering some punch? So knight comes to e2 and then queen h3 check, kings to h1, and then rook to e6. I think this is going to be a bit slow. Uh, but I don't think there is any other way to get into the game because g3 is right now supported with the knight. Bishop cannot capture the g3 pawn. h2 pawn is pinned, and knight can come to f3, but it's ineffective because of this knight takes, and we have this e5 pawn hanging also. So if this rook and knights are not supporting the e4 pawn, then this knight takes e4 would be critical for the decision of the game. So what happened in the game? Knight f4 was played, the rook was attacked, and now queen to g5. This was a beautiful fork, guys. If you look here, this was probably missed by black here, attacking the rook and the queen at the same time. And meanwhile, I can see a comment from Mr. Ferris. Hi, Mr. Ferris, how are you? Hope you are doing well, safe and sound at home. So today there is a new activity that we have started. We have Mayank with us, Mayank Hinge, one of the young chess players from Mumbai, and he is discussing with us, analyzing with us, sharing his experiences about chess. So, Mayank, this fork, okay, so how do you feel when you get such forks in the game, when you're playing from the black side and an opponent gives you a fork? How do you feel about that? Do you give up the game, or what do you think?
If the position supports me, then I will continue the game. If not, then if it doesn't feel interesting, then I leave the game.
Okay, but
But
you still have to
it
keep
was
fighting
my
always.
previous hobby that I used to give up the game. But nowadays I play the game till the end.
Right, right. So sometimes the fork is very demoralizing in the game. It will just break up your confidence, and won't help your the game actually. So these forks are very disturbing to everyone, no matter who, if a player is a good player, if he's just begun his chess, or anyone. Whenever you lose your rook in a fork like this, you always get demotivated. But you should never give up. You have to just keep fighting till the last moment of the game, and no doubt someone will make a blunder as well. So we have queen to g4, knight to e6, f takes e6, queen to d1. So after this exchange, I think black is going to lose because this, yeah, actually black resigned here and white won the game. It's probably because the position and the exchange down that black is in. Okay, so anything else, Mayank, you want to add from your side? I think we almost spent about 20 minutes speaking with you, and we had a very good sharing with you. So anything that you want to tell all the viewers out there, or you want to uh, express yourself, or just share something with all the viewers out there?
So, it's a message from me that we need to keep practicing chess
Mm-hmm.
to become a good player.
Mm-hmm.
From last 2 to 3 months, I'm also following this strategy, like practicing the game, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm analyzing my games where I'm making mistake and everything,
Mm-hmm.
all the weak points and strong points in my game, and I'm working on it. So I'm getting an upper hand in the new games which I'm playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all for my side.
Yes. So even we learned, we recently published a couple of interviews with I am Arjun and I am uh, uh, Bachna Moshvili from Georgia. So both IAMs have given us this great advice that always analyze your games. That is what you are focusing on right now, Mayank. I feel that. So yes, analyzing his game is very important, no matter what. And every time you play a game, whether you win or lose, try to analyze it. Just make sure that whatever decisions you took in the game were the correct ones. So, a good advice from you, Mayank. Good to have you on the call today. I hope all the viewers out there are listening to us. We have a guest program that we have started from today. The first guest is our Mayank. Unfortunately, I did not have sufficient time to put up his photo and his FIDE profile, but of course, I'll be sharing that in some time if possible. So, thank you, Mayank, for joining us. We would like to have you back again with us sometime in the live broadcast. So, that's it from Mayank, right, Mayank? Or do you want to say anything
Yes,
else?
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I love today in the podcast.
Okay. Bye bye and take care. Be safe in these difficult situations. Bye bye. Good night.
Yes, the same to you, sir. Bye, sir.
Yes.
Good night.
Bye. So, meanwhile, we have a comment from Subhash. Hi, Subhash. Hope you are doing well. Today, we have started a new program, a new activity on our channel to get the calls on Skype. You can call us on Skype, you can share your experiences, and we would be happy to have you joining us in our live broadcast. So just note down my Skype ID. It's Amer Savan 84 AMEYA CHAVAN 84. That's my Skype ID, and we would be happy to have you on the Skype call. Okay. So right now the game is going on between the Shaji PM from Karnataka Stunners versus the Gya Survivor from Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy. And Rook G8, we have pawn to G4, pawn takes G4, F takes G4, and Rook takes H4. Okay, and we have another question from Mr. Ferris. How to make green lines in Leeches app? You can use the right click of the mouse, Mr. Ferris, to make the green lines. Rook to H4, pawn to G5. So this is actually a queen and major pieces versus the pawn ending. So these are very safe pawns actually. This can be a backward pawn which can be targeted by a white, probably by playing rook to f1, f rook to f6, and putting another rook on f1 and taking the rook to f3, so that this c3 pawn is supported as well as this f7 pawn is attacked. And then probably queen can come to f4 and attack this pawn for thrice. So that is one strategy from white. At the same time, if black is able to exchange the pieces, then black would be in a better position because the pawns are very safe as compared to what white has here. White has this isolated pawn on a2 which can be attacked. Pawn on c3 can be attacked. Pawn on g5 can be attacked. So it's not an easy position for white to survive this one. Let's check what's happening in the game. So rook h g8, rook g h8, queen to a5, and pawn to b6, queen to a6 check, queen b7, queen to a3. That's what black is trying. Black is trying to exchange the queens there. Queen c7, queen check, king b8, queen to c4, and now rook h2. Now this rook is starting to make some sense because we also have this beautiful queen f4 check available, and then queen f5 check is also available. So for example, queen f4, king to b1, and then we have this queen to c5 check. Of course this queen d3 is available for the interposing, but that's what black wants. Black wants to get the pieces exchange, get his rook on the 7th rank, and try to attack as much as possible. So rook to d2, and now queen to f4, pinning the rook straight away. Double attack on this rook on d2, and then we have rook to d1, and then we have rook takes d2, rook takes d2, and rook to h2. We have queen to d3, queen takes d2, queen takes d2, rook takes d2, and king takes. This is a simple ending for black now. I think black is having a lot of targets, and meanwhile white is having a lot of weaknesses, and that's what happened actually. This position, look at this, c4 was actually a blunder here from white. What could he have played? White could have played king e3, king d5, and then he could have played king d3, not allowing this king to get a better position. But then the c5 break is available, pawn takes c5, king takes c5, and then I think white is going to lose the position very soon, and then this c3 pawn, king can come to the c4. But still, I think this e and e pawn will be the diversion for this white king to come and save. Meanwhile, this king can just come, capture the c3 pawn, get to b3, and push the pawn to c5, c4, and c3 squares. So a nice ending, just from the exchanges point of view. So we have another question from Mr. Ferris. Can we use it on mobile app? So yes, Mr. Ferris, you can use. You cannot draw the arrows in the mobile app, but there are third-party applications like any draw or draw anywhere or draw arrows on the screen that you can use to draw the arrows on your mobile. But it's not available on the leeches arrows are not available on the mobile app. Okay, let's try to pick up the next game. We have next game between Mr. Green and GM Bobby Fischer. GM Bobby Fischer is from Prayagraj Future GM's Chess Club, and Mr. Green is from Khelo Chess India. Let's see what's happening in the game. So e4, c5, pawn knight to f3, knight to c6, knight to c3, pawn to g6. This is accelerated dragon. Those who are not aware, so knight c6 and then bishop is g7, and then after some time d5 is played by black. So bishop b5, bishop g7, bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and castles. Pawn to d6, and we have pawn to d3, knight to f6, bishop g5, and castles. Queen to d2. Queen d2 is simple idea of just putting this bishop on h6 and getting it exchanged with the dragon bishop. So bishop to g4 is played. There is a chance of having a double pawn here on f2 and f3. So white has to be careful. White plays knight to e1. Knight is now gone to the passive position. Pawn to e5, pawn to h3, bishop goes back to e6, and then we have bishop h6, queen to d7, king to h2, and rook to b8. This now b2 pawn is hanging. Probably rook b1 can be played, or b3 was played. Yeah, b3 was played. b3 is a simple defensive move. Rook to e8, bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and pawn to f4. Now the f file can be opened up, and this is how you have to play, guys. You have to create the chances, attacking chances for you. So knight e1 is not a waste of move. Knight e1 was used to play the f4 move and try to get this file open here. Try to attack the f6 and f7 pawns. So it's going to be an excellent attack now. That's what I feel from white side. So black won the game. Okay, just when I say that white is going to enjoy the attack, black won the game. So we were at this position. So pawn takes f4 was played, queen takes f4, and knight to h5. We have queen to f2, pawn to d5. Break at the right moment. You have to get something open here. Black has to get an open file on the e file, or at least get some the c6 pawn on d5, or get this bishop onto the d5 square, or at least try to open up this diagonal for queen. So we have knight to f3 and pawn takes, knight takes e4. That's interesting. Okay, and then we have queen to c7 check, king to h1. You should not keep this. You should not allow this actually fork here. Okay, king g1 was slightly better, I feel so. So pawn to f5 was played, and knight to g5, and yes, knight to g3, king to g1, knight f1, rook f1, and queen to d6 is played now. So we have queen g3, a free queen, probably queen h4, pawn h6. No, I think that's losing for white. So just couple of moves back, I think everything was fine, but this king h1 move was not the best one. King should have gone to g1 here, just avoiding this fork. And yeah, king h1, I can't see any move. So yeah, even in here actually you could have played knight takes c5, but again the story is same. Knight g3 cannot be stopped because of king is on h1. So that's the miss from white side. Don't put your king after check in such a position wherein opponent gets some tactics again. Don't give tactics to your opponent, just try to play your king on the safer square. Okay, let's go back to a tournament and try to find the next game out there. Okay, so we have a request from Abhishek Srivastav. Let's try to find Abhishek's game. Abhishek Srivastav is playing, and Abhishek Srivastav is playing against Jagdish Advocate. Let's try to find this game. So Jagdish Advocate is from Gujarat Lions, and Abhishek is playing from Chess Club. So e4, c5, and bishop c4, e6, pawn to d4, pawn takes d4, queen takes d4, knight to f6, bishop to g5, bishop e7, bishop takes f6. That's kind of a not so good move because then this bishop is going to come on the f6 and it's going to get a free attack on this b7 pawn. So white would have to keep defending this b2 square then. Okay, so bishop takes f6 is not recommended here. Bishop should be kept on g5. At the same time, you should try to develop your other pieces, minor pieces, knight f3, castles, knight c3. Let the bishop be there on g5. Sometime after some time, black would get frustrated and play h6 move, which is good for you. There will be some weaknesses on the black's king side, which you can later exploit. But bishop should not be exchanged here. Bishop should be kept on the g5 square. So we have bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and pawn to e5, knight to c6, and this is e5 is another blunder there because knight c6 just attacks the queen and the pawn at the same time. So we have queen to e3 and knight takes e5, knight to c3 and knight to c4, a free bishop out there. So I think this is losing, clearly losing for white now. And let's go back and check the next game. A lot of pieces down. So let's try to find the next game. We have another request from uh, Akshay Zogrekar. Let's check Akshay's game. Okay, AKSH. Akshay Zogrekar. Let's check your game. Akshay is playing against Chulajana. Chulanjana. Chulanjana is from Golden Castle Chess Club. And where is this player from actually? No, I cannot get the country, but let's check the game. E4, C5, now D4, C takes D4. So this is called as the Mora Gambit, which is one of the attacking lines from white side, pawn to D4. And then we have pawn to C3, pawn to D3, bishop to D3, knight to C6, bishop to e3, knight to f6, knight to f3, pawn to g6, and pawn to e5, knight to g5, pawn to h3, knight takes e5, knight bishop to d4. That's a surprising move. First of all, this pawn was free here. So this knight g4, whenever you push the pawn, make sure that this pawn can be supported. You should have played knight d2 first, knight d2, queen c2, and then probably castle. And don't be in hurry to push the pawn because it's not going to give you anything right now. That's what actually black wants. Black wants to push this pawn, push you this pawn. If you play h3 and then play d5, it might make some sense because then knight g4 won't be available to attack the bishop and pawn at the same time. But this knight can go to d5 square. Then probably you can put the bishop on g5 and try to continue. Then you have queen b3 as well, attacking the knight and this pawn. But e5 is not the correct move here. E5 is should not be played. Knight to g4, pawn h3, knight takes knight, and bishop takes d4, bishop d4, knight takes d3, check first, and queen takes d3, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, and pawn to f6, defending the rook here on h8. And then we have castles, bishop g7, knight to d2, and castles, knight to c4, all good still now, and black is going to get advantage because he has got an extra pawn out there. So queen d5 check, pawn to e6, queen to d3, and now pawn to b6. So pawn to b4, bishop b7. Look at both the bishops. Both the bishops are very nicely pointing towards the center as well as the opposite sides of the board. And it was a draw. Interesting to know. Let's quickly fast forward to the position that we were analyzing. This was a position. So knight e5 was played here, and after knight e5, we have rook to c8. Black should have won this one actually. So here, this was the problem actually. Here, instead of going for this plan, sorry, e6, queen d3, d5 should have been played here. d5, bishop d7. Let the knight sit on e5. That's okay. Queen c7 can challenge the knight. Then take your bishop to d7. Probably take the rook to c8. This rook to d8, and then probably you can try to exchange here on the c4. No, it won't be allowed to exchange on c4, but you can exchange the knight on e5 then. And there is also queen b6 and bishop d7, bishop to b5 threat over here, which can be used after d5 move. So pawn to b6, at least I think, okay, b6 was played, pawn to b4, Bishop b7, knight to e5, and rook to c8, knight d6, bishop takes e5, knight takes rook, and queen takes. And this was actually a tricky exchange. Actually, this white is giving away his two knights, attacking knights for the rook. That is not the good choice from white here. Should not give away two knights here. These two knights are the only pieces on the board which can help the queen to deliver some kind of mating attack or some kind of tactic on the board. But if you give away both the knights for this rook, which is not one of the active rooks, not active, but it's not one of the dangerous rooks on the board. But white is not going to have a good position after you give away two knights. Never give away your minor pieces in this way. Use them for attack, guys. Knight d6, bishop e5, knight takes c8, queen takes c8, rook to e1, and I think here actually bishop to b8 was good. Bishop b8 and queen to c7. There was a mate threat on h2, so g6 g3 was expected, and then queen could have been brought to c6 to get a bit on g2 square. So probably this bishop should have been brought to b8 and then tried to attack. It would have been a give a better option. c3 pawn is of course free, but we have this d7 pawn hanging then. Okay, d7 should not be given because that is the only way that white can get some play in the game. So queen e5 was played and b7 was now gone. That's not the way black should have played actually. This is the blunder. Queen takes c3, and that's actually costed you the game. So bishop to this bishop b8 was the better move as compared to what this bishop queen takes c3. So okay, let's go to the back game. Queen takes c3, queen takes d7, queen d4, and the b7 was hanging here. So probably here nothing is going to help. Nope. Okay, so queen d4, queen takes b7, queen to f4, pawn to g3, queen takes b4, rook takes e5. Another free piece given. So two bishops given away by black there, and they should be winning for white. I'm not sure how this draw happened over there. So probably rook check is available here. Rook e7. Let's check what happened. Queen b7, king to h6, and queen to g2, pawn to f4, and king moves. And now queen to d2, rook to f1, pawn takes, rook takes, and queen to e1, rook to f1, and queen goes back. I think rook takes f4 is now available. Queen e5, and now we have queen rook to e4, queen a1 check, king to h2, and queen to c3, rook to e6, attacking the g6 pawn. And yeah, there was actually this check is there. Uh, okay, so king goes back, queen check. You do This is not the way actually. You should not go for a draw here. White should have interposed the queen here. Queen check. This is blocked by the queen. Then queen will go to c2 check. You can just put the king to g1. Again a check on c1. King can come to f2. Then again a check on c2, and then probably you can interpose the rook now to e2 square. So it should not have been played actually. Even king g1 is okay here. King g1, you have this queen c5 as well as this queen c1 check. So white has had a time. Even look at the time, there was a lot of time in white's hands, but it ended in a draw. So let's go back. So we have analyzed Akshay's game, and we have also analyzed Abhishek's game, and few more games we analyzed. We also had Mayank Hinge joining us today from Mumbai to express his views about chess. He's also a young chess player. Even you can join our team battle for the live commentary and share your thoughts. If you have FIDE rating, we will be happy to get you on the call for the live broadcast. So let me know in the comment section if you want to join our live broadcast. Okay, then we have, let's pick the next game. Let's pick up the game between, let's first check who are leading today. So we have Prayagraj Future GMs on 127 points. Then we have Karnataka Stunners on 119, Gujarat Lions on 104, Beat Bindano Chess Prodigy on 89, Chennai Chess Club on 73, Chess Blasters on 70, Abhi Chess Club on 47, Golden Castle Chess Club on 37, and then we have Khelo Chess India. Not all players playing today. It's on 36. Chess Views Club on 33. So a nice battle going on between all the teams. We have Abhi Ganigar 20 to 60 from Karnataka Runners leading from the individual point of view. Let's try to pick up another game now, guys. Let's try to pick Abhi's game again. We have already seen his game, but let's try to check his game again. So the game is between Nurab PI 74 is from Russia, Philippines, sorry, and Abhiganigar is from Karnataka, India. So nice queen ending. Let's quickly check what happened in the opening. D4, knight f6, knight f3, e6, and then we had bishop f4, pawn to d5, pawn to e3, pawn to c5. Then we have pawn to c3, and then we have, this is again a London system game, guys. Bishop d6, bishop g3, queen to c7, bishop to d3, knight to d7, and knight d2, castles, rook to c1, pawn to e5, another good break from black side, and pawn to e4, pawn takes e4, knight takes e4, and okay, black won the game. Let's check in the opening. Okay, so e4 is a critical break here. E5 is a critical break here, guys. You have to learn this break from this game, what will happen in the game. So pawn to e4 was played, d takes e4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, pawn takes d4, and now the exchange is again open for these bishops. So we have castles, then bishop takes g3, pawn takes g3, knight to f6, and bishop to b1, pawn takes c6, rook takes pawn takes c3, rook takes c3, bishop to g4, and now queen to c1. I thought probably queen to c2 was a better option here. Queen to c2 is just putting some pressure on this h7. If bishop takes f3, then rook can come to f3 and threaten this rook takes f6, which will help you to capture the h7 pawn. So queen c1 anyways, trying to attack the c5 pawn more, but I think b6 is going to be played, and then probably we have b4 pawn coming up. So b6 and rook to e1. I think b4 was b4 knight d5. Yes, sorry, b4 is not playable. Knight d5 is something which might trouble. Yeah, then queen c2 would have made difference actually. Queen c2, if this queen was there on c2 instead of c1, then this b4 was possible. Knight d5 would have been met with the queen takes h7 check and mate. So probably, and even there is another move here. Okay, that's not possible. So this, yeah, queen should have been there on c2 actually, trying to attack both the c5 as well as the h7 pawns there. So rook f e8, then we have rook e3, rook takes e3, rook takes e3, rook to d8, queen to e1, pawn to c4, rook to e7, queen d6, king h2, bishop f3, gf3, pawn to a5, bishop to f5, pawn to h5, king to g2, pawn to g6, attacking the bishop on f5, bishop comes back to c2 now, rook to king to f8, attacking the rook now, so rook probably will have to come back to e2, rook e2 came back, rook to e8, rook takes, knight takes, and queen to e4. And then we have queen c5, we have bishop to a4, attacking this knight twice now with the queen and with the bishop, trying to attack a deliver a mate here. So knight to f6 was played and queen a8 check, king safely moved to g7, and now this king seems to be pretty well defended, nothing to worry about. And now actually black can start pushing the pawns and try to create a passer here. But let's check what happened. Queen d8 was played, pawn to b4, queen takes a4, a5. Okay, this pawn is pinned. But then we have pawn to h4 and queen takes b5, queen to d4, pawn takes h4. I think this probably exposed uh, white's king a lot after queen takes h4. So queen to e5, and then we have pawn to c3. Pawn takes c3 and queen takes a4. A beautiful move here. Look at this, guys. It's like a wow moment. So pawn to c3, and then probably this bishop was missed completely. This bishop was hanging. So this is something which reminds me of the thing which is going to come on the screen. This blunder from white, actually white missed this uh, white missed the bishop on the e4 square. So we have this coming up for you. Look at this reaction, guys. Kasparov was totally shocked by playing that move against Anand. One of the beautiful experiences that expressions that was caught on the camera between the Kasparov and the great Anand was when they were playing. Similar thing happened over here. So a very nice example there because of this blunder. Queen takes a4 is possible, and that's what actually I was relating to this blunder by Kasparov versus Anand. So we have pawn takes and queen takes a4, which is leading the which is helping black now to win easily. So queen c5, queen c6, pawn to a4, queen takes a4, queen to e5, queen to c6, and we have king to g3, king to h7, and now king to f4, knight h5 check, king to g4, queen d7 check, king to h4, and this there has to be some tactic here on this king which will help black to win quickly. So queen a4 check, king to h3, and now we have queen f4, an exchange offer here because the end game is clearly winning for black. Just knight and king are sufficient to come and capture these pawns and push the pawns as quickly as possible. So we have queen to d5, and then we have knight to g7, king to g2, queen to f5, queen to d3, a blunder here. I think that is a blunder and something that black missed. Black played knight e6, queen was freer, and there is no statement position. So queen was freer, probably missed by black. So we have knight to e6, and we have queen to d1, knight to f4 check, king g3, and queen to g5 check, king to h2, and queen g2 check and mate. A very nice final delivery by black here. So just this is a position, knight f4 check, and this is the final check and mate, guys. A very nice check and mate. Probably if you have any students out there, you can just give them this position of black to play and mate in two moves, queen g5 check, king moves to h2, and queen g2 check and mate. For beginners, it's a nice puzzle. So let's go back to tournament, try to pick up the next game. Last 7 minutes remaining in the today's tournament, and let's try to pick up some game by from Khelo Chess India. Let's check who all are playing from Khelo Chess India. Not in top players, but yeah, Mr. Green, we already saw your game once, so let's try to pick up some another player. So okay, so no no one from Khelo Chess India. That's pretty funny. We can see here the second player who is Mr. Green and Mr. Brain Crusher. Okay, let's try to check Brain Crusher's game out there. Brain Crusher is playing with Dubov. Dubov, I think, is from Karnataka. Yes, he's from Karnataka versus Kilo Chess India's Mr. Brain Crusher. Let's try to check what happened in the opening. E4, C5 was Sicilian defense. D4, Mora Gambit from white side. So C takes D4. Oh no, D6 Gambit was declined here. So pawn takes C5 and Queen A5 check. Knight C3. Knight to d6, probably here. Yeah, pawn takes is possible. Knight takes e4 is also possible after pawn takes. But this is an interesting position. I need to know the theory of this. I need to study this right after the broadcast. This is something that I am seeing for the not for the first time, but it's very interesting. This queen a5 check after d takes c5 and this knight f6 threatening the knight takes e4 move. So bishop d2 is played. Then we have queen takes c5, bishop e3, queen b4. Now the b2 is attacked, e4 is attacked, so white has to be careful here. Bishop to b5 check, knight c6, bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and queen d3. Can we capture the b2 pawn here, the poisoned pawn? So if queen takes b2, rook b1, we have queen to e3, which is playable, and there I think you can capture this pawn without any problem right now. And rook b3 can be playable, but rook b3 can be answered by bishop queen to a5. Probably e5 is not playable because we still have this queen takes e5 available. So I think queen takes b2 was playable here. Pawn to a5, knight to e2, bishop to a6, queen to d2, and now pawn to e5. Black is trying to attack the center. Pawn to a3, queen takes b2, and now castles. We have queen coming back to b7, making sure the queen is not trapped here by rook b1. So queen c7 and bishop to b6, queen to d7, pawn to e5, knight e4, knight takes, pawn takes, and queen takes d7, king takes d7, and the rook to d1 check. So now this is going to be a bit of problem for black because the king is stuck in center and he still have his bishop and this rook has to be developed. If you look at black's white pieces, they are very nicely placed, not the bad ones, but of course this knight is hanging, but rook has the open file. This rook has the open file. Right now this rook is not there in the open file. This rook is not having any scope. So black is slightly few moves. Oh sorry, black is slightly few moves behind in this game. So king to e8, we have knight c3, pawn to f5, it takes f6, and okay, the game is over. But let's go back there, the live position, and we have this position right now. So knight takes and queen exchange. This was live position that we were checking. F5, F5, I think is ef6 is helping black if I'm not wrong. If pawn takes f6, then this bishop can get some scope here to come on e7 and get castled. So probably not the best move by white. So f5 was played, knight to c4, then we have bishop to So knight to c5, bishop to c4, rook to d4, and now I think we have this bishop to g7. If rook takes c4, then we have bishop takes a1. So probably this was missed by black here. Okay, so rook bishop f7 was played, then we have rook to e1, and then bishop to g7, rook to d7, bishop to f6, and now knight comes to e6. I think the rook was given away free here. This is the blunder, guys. The blunder that caused a loss for white. So this is a difficult position, not an easy one. But probably this rook should have been just moved to c7, try to attack this c6 pawn, and probably then you can play knight e6, which is a happy position for white. Okay, anyways, this knight e6 blunder was played. King takes d7, knight c4 check, and I think here white resigned because of this blunder. So let's go back and check next game from one of the good players. So okay. So Ganches, okay, Ganches says that hi Khelo Chess. I missed your streaming yesterday. Do regularly, sure Ganches. I would be happy to do it. And thanks for the compliments. So let's check Ganches game today. Okay, I think it's his name is Ganesh. Ganches is playing today against probably this will be the last game because it's 20 seconds to 2 minutes remaining. So probably you won just one game. Akshay against Akshay. Let's see this game. How did you fare in this game? Did we see this game already? I am not sure. Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight to g5. Interesting. This is called as the fried liver attack, wherein the knight takes f7 is allowed by black. So black played here d5, and then we have pawn takes d5, knight a5, bishop to b5 check, pawn to c6, d takes c6, b takes c6, and bishop comes back to e2. Pawn to h6, knight f3 back, and then bishop to c5. This generally gives a good position for black. Actually, all the pieces are nicely developed, and white struggles to get some control over the center. So e5 was given away free here, and d7 was able to be exchanged by white. So that would be helping white little bit because now white is 2 pawns up. That is going to help white a bit. So bishop to f3, rook to c8, and knight to c3, bishop to b4, bishop to d2, bishop takes c3, bishop takes c3, and knight to d5, bishop to d2, pawn to a5, pawn to a3, and queen to f5, bishop to g4. Probably this is the miss from black here. He must have missed that this bishop can come to g4 and attack this queen and the rook at the same time and get this rook for free. Not free, but an exchange up. So queen to g6, then we have bishop takes c8, rook takes c8, and rook to e1, rook to f8, queen to e2, knight to d6, and now pawn to c4. Knight to f6, we have bishop takes a5, and knight coming now to f5, bishop to c3, knight to h4, pawn to f3, and king to h7, bishop takes f6, g takes f6, and g3. This there is this open file, but I think G3 is just shutting it off, and there won't be unless you have H5, H4 moves trying to get this exchange, and rook comes on G8, and there are some mating threads over here. There is no use of this open file. So at F5, queen to E4, rook to E8, and then we have queen to G4, queen takes, pawn takes, and rook takes E1. Rook takes e1 and knight to g7, rook to e7. Then we have king g6, rook to c7, and this is winning for white completely. So a lot of pawns given away free in the opening by black. So if you're playing this game, let's go to turning point of the match. Okay, so this is all okay. This is all theory. Bishop comes back to e2, pawn to h6, knight f3 is also okay. Bishop c5, pawn to d, bishop c5. Yeah. So this is the moment where you started giving away your e5 pawn from the black's point of view. Akshay, if you are listening to this commentary, e5 is something that you are giving away. I can see a comment from Sahil, but Sahil says I have made 3 draws and it is showing that I have made 2 draws. Sir, please answer. So we need to check your profile, Sahil, after the tournament is over. We can just have a quick look at the Sahil at the your scoring. You can just post your id leeches id there. I can check later on. Just post your leeches id in the comment section. I would be happy to have a look at your scores. So this e5 should not be given away. This pawn gave up. This was given away free by black. That is not what you should do here. You should just try to play bishop to d6 and support the pawn. After this e5 was lost, it became very easy for white to continue the game and just exchange the pieces and go into the ending. And second blunder was this queen f5 move, which why black did here. This was the second blunder. Actually, so giving away the pawns and giving away the rook as well, it's not going to help you to win. So a lot of improvements for black side. And let's go back to tournament. I think the tournament must have ended right now. And yes, we have the conclusion. And today we have Prayagraj Future GM's Chess Club leading the team and winning the 69 Kilo Chess India team battle with 180 points. Then we have Karnataka Customers. First, let me congratulate GM Bobby Fischer also to score 28 points and lead from the Prayagraj Future GMs. Then we have Karnataka Stunners Ganigar. Sorry to pronounce it wrong. Abhi Ganigar. I saw your games. We have analyzed it. You have a very nice rating of 2266 and you are playing a very nice chess, giving a good examples to all of our viewers to learn from your games. So congratulations to you too to lead your team. And Karnataka Stunners have finished on 161. Then we have Gujarat Lions, Parik Harikrishna, the team captain, leading from the front, scoring 20 points and coming first from the team, and team finishing on 126 points. Then we have Beat Mindano Chess Prodigy making a comeback today after a couple of days of break. And Uchiha Madara 20 has scored 23 points and leading from the team. The team has scored 122 points and finished on fourth rank today. Chess Blasters again slipping down. Chess Blasters were performing very well in last few games, but they have slipped down today and they have reached sixth position. We have 109 points. Sara Chess has scored 20. So we have Abhi Chess Club, a new team coming up today. Target Pawn finishing on 22. 63 is the total score. Golden Castle Chess Club, we have 12 points. Sanuka from Castle Chess Club is leading and the team has scored 58 points. Khelo Chess India not performing well today, guys. All the Khelo Chess India team members, you have to join and play and perform. We were in top three few weeks back, and we have slipped down to the lower position, so we have to come back. Mr. Brain Crusher, congratulations for securing the first place in the team today. Team is finishing on 49, and then we have Chess Views Club who have finished on the 35 points. Abhi Ganigar, congrats for you too for scoring 44, a huge difference between the first and second position. GM Bobby Fischer, again a very nice player. Unusual, we have seen his games. Dinesh Raj, we haven't covered your games yet, Dinesh, but we will try to cover it tomorrow or day after. And then we have Arapati, we have seen your games as well, and Speed like we have to check your games as well. So very nice tournament. Just looking at the comment section. Okay, Ganesh Chess says hi, Kilo Chess. I missed your streaming yesterday. Do it regularly. So yes, Ganesh Chess, we'll try to do it regularly. And you missed half of the tournament. That's okay, totally. Sadly, yeah, that's sad to miss tournament because of internet issues, especially if you lose a game because of internet connection when you were winning. That is the most frustrating moment for any chess player. Okay, and we have some comment which I'm not able to understand. And fine, thanks all. So Anujay Maru, thank you for giving a thumbs up. And Sultan Khan, whatever you play, no points. That's why I'm a sack. Okay. Okay. So, a very nice tournament coming to a beautiful end, guys. And we have a new activity starting from today. If you want to come on this live broadcast, just message me. I would be happily send you my uh, Skype ID. You can join us on Skype and you can be a part of this live conversation. We'll be having call for 10 minutes, sharing your experiences, sharing your views on chess, sharing your guidelines, and whatever you think about chess, whatever your future plans are of chess, you can join our live broadcast and tell your plans. So we'll be showing your photo, your FIDE profile, and making sure that people know you as well. So you can definitely join our live broadcast. Just ping me in the comment section, or ping me or comment on the on this video after the broadcast is over that you are interested. We will reach out to you and we'll have a Skype conversation tomorrow or day after for this live broadcast. So that's all from this live broadcast, guys. No more questions in the comment section and no more requests or questions in the tournament section as well, tournaments comment section. So we have published a new video today, how to create the Swiss tournaments. Make sure you watch that video and you create few tournaments and ask your friends to join so that you become one of the organizers of beautiful tournaments that we have on Leeches. And make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends as much as possible. Take care. Bye bye until we meet tomorrow again at 9:30 p.m. India time for 70th Khelo Chess India team battle.